Bitcoin is trading around $89,000. We had the interest rate hike with Japan last night. Came off as very dovish, as I was kind of telling you guys. The market obviously rallied against that because everybody, in my opinion, was calling for this massive 30% correction. Now, obviously, that still remains to be seen of how this is going to play out. However, I think that this was highly anticipated. I think that this was priced in for the most part. And, I do lean bullish leading into the end of this year. Now, a few reasons being because obviously, we've had massive downturns when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Stock markets seem to kind of be catching a footing. There's a lot of speculation with this whole, AI, artificial intelligence bubble with the data centers as well. And when you look at the whole landscape of things, I think that, we cannot afford to have them go under because that's basically what's propping up the US economy. Now, I'm not really too worried about this whole, Japan situation unwinding. I think that the two initial hikes that were happening, that's why we had such a cascade initially, because it was kind of a scare and a shock to the markets. And I think that the big boys pretty much were already planning to de-risk and move most of their assets out. And I think that the smart money is already ahead of this trade. So in my opinion, obviously Bitcoin's down. We've crashed about 33%. Just really quick update on that. I think that as long as we structurally maintain above a $75,000 price target for Bitcoin, I think that the bull year cycle is still intact. There's a lot of talk about the whole, 5-year cycle now, which I don't really subscribe to. There's no shortage of narratives. There's just like, pick your poison, right? There's just no shortage of different narratives of what's going on. And I think structurally you cannot ignore that the whole administration is going very pro-crypto. There was an announcement by David Sachs, who's the AI and crypto czar with the administration, saying that basically the Clarity Act and the Market Structure Act is all going to be in the works and should be finalized sometime in January of next year. That's very bullish. I think that they're going to kind of sniff that out and price that in. Obviously, we had a very cool rating on the CPI. There was also a cool rating on the Japan CPI. And so when you see this kind of landscape where inflation's kind of cooling down and they're worried about the growth of the economy, that kind of paves the land for essentially just like money printing and stimulating of the economy to basically outgrow any kind of inflation and to grow yourself out of the quote unquote economic pains. So, I maintain bullish stance. I think that it's going to be interesting watching Bitcoin play out. I do think that we're going to have some sort of relief rally. Now, obviously, I would love to see us go above $98,000, but I do think that that's going to be the short-term price target if we're going to remain bullish. If we somehow flip that and we get to like 106, like some kind of like crazy price action, wouldn't be surprised to see us go towards all-time highs sometime, probably like around January, February, if we're able to go above 106. That's very important. Now, obviously, that's just for you traders, right? And just, macro setup, kind of like a higher time frame analysis. Long term, if the price goes down, I'm prepared to buy more. That's basically been my strategy going forward. I always tell you guys to prioritize making money outside of just the crypto markets because it's very toxic and boring and underwhelming just to stay inside these markets that are, quite frankly, just being very manipulated. And, even putting the manipulation aside, sorry, I just drank a lot of pre-workout. I'm all stemmed out. The whole October 10th situation, there's still a lot of questions when it comes to what's actually going on, what happened there. Is there this huge hole that needs to be filled? And that's why, we see this massive sell-off every single time we have a market open. Maybe it's some people trying to either sell or fill their books so that they can look good whenever they get audited for the annual sort of like asset audit to see if they still hold the same amount of altcoins or whatever the case may be. Maybe they went bankrupt and they're being bought out. We don't really know. There's not been any answers. And so that's just a big question that remains to be seen. And I think that we can all agree that the market has looked it's looked very broken just across the board ever since that event happened. So again, I'm going to be updating you guys with what I'm seeing in the charts, what I'm seeing in the future, and kind of how I'm trading this whole market. So make sure you subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Everything I say here is very time sensitive. Hope you guys are enjoying the holidays with your loved ones and you're having a great day. Bye.